So fans, welcome back to my channel and welcome to pretty much a quick super video, and it's gonna be a spoiler heavy video. So but then again, I'm not gonna spoil a lot of stuff because I mean we've all pretty much seen these movies, and today I'll be quickly covering the entire Spider-Man live action films, not counting Venom because I already covered Venom, and Into the Spider-Verse. I'm gonna save it for another video, but for now let's just cover the entire Spidey franchise, starting with, well, of course, the Raimi trilogy. And we're going to be covering the Garfield duology directed by Mark Webb, and, well, the Tom Holland MCU duology. Well, no longer is going to be duology. Now it's going to be a trilogy because of the new and upcoming No Way Home, which I will do my best to catch a show, or at least get a screening. So without further ado, fams, let's dive right in. And like I said, spoilers coming up right now. But you guys enjoy the show. All right, guys, quiet on set. Scene one, take one. Action. Boom. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to share with friends. Also hit that bell for notifications because it helps out a lot. All right, now let's just dive right into the Raimi trilogy, as we all know and love. Well, me personally, I grew up with the trilogy, and yeah. All right, let's not get sentimental now. Let's just get on with the original trilogy. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. Starting with Spider-Man, directed by Sam Raimi, and it stars Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, and Willem Dafoe, just to name a few. So basically, the plot of Spider-Man 1 is, well, the typical it was basically the origin story of Spider-Man. Gets bit by a radioactive spider, he gains abilities. Well, and then Uncle Ben gets shot, and he basically learns the meaning of, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, at the same time, we got the Green Goblin, played by Willem Dafoe. And, well, I just gotta say, in my opinion, we get a masterpiece of a film. All right, let's just dive right in. Yes, I say it's a masterpiece. Why? Because, goddamn, all I gotta say is that, well, okay, there's some problems, of course. Well, some of the aspect ratio, in my opinion, as much as I like the aspect ratio, the standard widescreen, but I felt that, thankfully, that Sam Raimi did this with the sequels, is that it should have been cinematic, like CinemaScope. But aside from that, yeah, and some of the dialogue is good. Sorry, I'm going all over the place, but yeah. But some of the dialogue is very corny, but you know what? I can get over it. But overall, it's not detracting me from anything. It's just nice little comic book-ish dialogue, and I like it for that. I love that this film does not shy away from being a comic book film. It knows what it is and it delivers. So let's get on to the great things. Well, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Even though, despite being, you know, a little flawed when I retrospectively look into his portrayal, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is still, in my opinion, an amazing Spider-Man. He's still my favorite live-action Spider-Man. For me, though, not because I grew up with the guy, but because, well, not personally I grew up with the guy, but because, you know, I really sympathize, and also I kind of was a dork really growing up, so I get where he's coming from. And when he gains his abilities is great, and I quite like that I believe this is what James Cameron, this is James Cameron's idea during the 80s or 90s when he was trying to do the Spider-Man. When he was originally latched onto the project, he gave him organic webbings rather than Peter building his own webbings, which I get it. I mean, I get what the criticism is, because it kind of takes away some of his genius, but still, he's still a genius in this film. But for me, I kind of made sense for the time. Having organic webbing, it's funny because you get bitten by a radioactive spider and you get all the abilities, super strength and wall crawling from a spider, but you don't shoot web. So I thought it was cool, and I still think it's cool that he has organic webbings rather than building his own web. And Peter is still a genius. Mary Jane, played by Kirsten Dunst, you can say she's a bit ditzy and all that stuff, but my goodness, this is just me though. I think Mary Jane looks the hottest in the first movie. It's not that she wasn't hot in the other ones, but she's very fucking hot in this movie. And I mean, it's because there's a couple of shots of her titties hanging out, but still, it's fine. Her cleavage, sorry, but still, I still enjoyed her, even though she's a bit dopey, whatever, and she plays the stereotypical damsel in distress, especially near the end. Yeah, it's still fine. I think she did a fine job. James Franco, yeah, as Harry Osborn, I cringed a little bit right there, but he was great as Harry Osborn. And May and Uncle Ben were so great, and even Randy Savage as Bonesaw McGraw from the comics, fuck me. And also Bruce Campbell, man, giving Spider-Man his name is pure awesomeness. And I'll save, in my opinion, the best performance for last, and that is Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn, also known as the Green Goblin. Man, that guy steals the show, especially near the end when he beats the shit out of Spider-Man. Oh my goodness, man. Oh, I'm so happy he's coming back to reprise his role as the Green Goblin. The action scenes, despite, you know, I could have wished it would have been more scopish. The action scenes are phenomenal. Sam Raimi knows how to direct action. The score by Danny Elfman is just brilliant, man. I love it. That's how, when it comes to Spider-Man, aside from Spider-Man, I associate that theme song, the opening credits song, I associate Spider-Man with that, and that is so good. And the pacing is pretty good, honestly. And yeah, and Sam Raimi, I say this a lot about directors, he has that great director's eye, and it shows despite, again, having a more of a standard widescreen ratio, but still, it is great, man. This is still, in my opinion, a great movie, and I think it's a masterpiece still to this very day. Out of the entire Raimi trilogy, I watched the first one the most. So yeah, it's probably me calling it a masterpiece. It probably still has that soft nostalgic spot in my heart. Well, yeah, in my heart. But heck, you know, I still love it. Now moving on to SpiderMan II, once again directed by Sam Raimi, and we have Alfred Molina playing Dr. Otto Octavius, aka Doc Ock. So in this one, Peter Parker is going through a lot of struggles in his life and with school and everything like that. And well, he's slowly losing his powers, and actually I get that a lot. While Dr. Otto Octavius is trying to create this new power source, and then something happens when he creates these like tentacles, and well, it doesn't go well, and loses his mind a bit. So now it's up for Peter / Spider-Man to stop him. All right, now let's get on to the review of that. Actually, I forgot to mention about the first one. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Perfect casting. Perfect casting. That's all I gotta say. The Alfred Molina. Oh man. I also forgot to talk about Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, is that his character's tragic, because you can tell that he's a stern dad and all that stuff, but you could tell that he's struggling with, especially with the serum, with the Goblin serum, and here it's similar, but I think it's very tragic because Otto losing his wife in the whole process, and him just deep down being possessed by his tentacles and just robbing banks. Still, that guy is struggling on the inside, and he's just basically just getting too ambitious with himself. And honestly, it's very tragic what happens to him at the end, because he does become a good person, a good guy at the end, and he dies. Well, not anymore. But overall, him as Otto Octavius is great, man. And when he's evil, ooh, you can't take your eyes off him. He chooses to see up as Otto Octavius. And I just love how Peter has a lot of personal struggles by balancing Spider-Man and his personal life. And honestly, I understand why he would quit, and it leads to that awesome iconic callback to Spider-Man No More, and the shot in is great. And also, scope aspect ratio, it just suits it so well, and I just love basically Spider-Man 2 doubles down on what made Spider-Man 1 great, and it just, in my opinion, perfects it, and overall is great. And I know there's some criticism about, like, as much as I love the train scene, I do kind of agree that, well, Dr. Otto Octavius, well, then again, I don't know about this, but Dr. Octopus, I don't think he has superhuman strength. So I believe the shots where Spider-Man punches him in the face, if Spider-Man punched him in the face, he would have gone flying, but I mean, it's a movie, guys, but man, that train scene is amazing. Danny Elfman returns to score the film once again, and he adds a lot more emotion, especially during the music where Peter is struggling to either continue being Spider-Man or just quitting. And I love that a lot. This is such a personal film when you dive in for Peter's life, and it does basically it cements the whole meaning of with great power comes great responsibility. And honestly, yeah, I'm gonna say this, Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Spider-Man film of all time. Not only that, it is my favorite comic book film of all time. And this is actually the one I watched the least, because it was not until high school when I fully saw the film. I remember the hype, but I saw bits of it on cable, especially the third act. And I loved it a lot. I was just confused because then again, I didn't see the beginning and I believe middle act, but I really enjoyed it a lot. And when I finally get to see the whole movie in its entirety, the theatrical cut, I fell in love with it. I'm like, yeah, this is way better than the first one. Well, then again, at first, initially, I didn't think it was better than the first one, but then again, over time, I'm like, no, this is better. So SpiderMan II, it's a masterpiece, guys. That's all I gotta say. Now moving on to SpiderMan III. Once again, Sam Raimi returns to direct. And we have Topher Grace as Eddie Brock / Venom, and Thomas Hayden Church as the Sandman, aka Flynn Markle. I already mixed it, but whatever. Not so worried about. Well, Peter is now basically fully balancing his whole superhero and personal life, which is great. He's at his all-time high. And we have all these villains coming in. And it's up for Spider-Man to, well, of course, stop him. Well, Sandman was personal because they retcon a thing. And Harry, who's now the new Goblin. People call him the Hobgoblin, but he's the new Goblin as far as I know. Not the Hobgoblin. He's after Peter ever since he found out that Peter killed his dad, which he didn't. You know, we all know that Norman killed himself on accident with his glider. And we have Venom, which... But so yeah, so let's just get on to the review. Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman, in my opinion, he's the best villain out of all the villains. His acting is a bit wooden, a little bit for my taste, but overall, I still love his character. It was very emotional and stuff, except that they had to retcon him by making him Uncle Ben's killer rather than that random killer. It kind of takes away from Spider-Man's origins, but I don't hate it. I like it or don't like it. I don't know. I'm kind of mixed really when I'm thinking about it. But I'm not fully offended by that for real. But yeah. But Tommy Hayden Church, especially that his performance as Sandman is really good, man. I really like that scene, especially his fight scenes with Peter, and it is so cool. That CGI Sandman scene when he's the birth of Sandman, as I call it. What more I could say? What can I add? It's a masterful piece of film. Really, it is. The music is great. And Danny Elfman did not return. Well, then again, he's sampled, I believe. So I believe it's Christopher Young that comes back and composes it. So yeah, he does a great score here, and wow, it's emotional. I really do. I really enjoyed the Sandman stuff and the score. And I quite like the relationship between Peter and Mary Jane, which they haven't had the strongest relationship in the previous two. And here, I understand why people would cringe, but honestly, as far as I've seen, they kind of argue like a real couple, even though that Mary Jane is kind of a bitch. But overall, it's nice. And also, I like how this film deals with narcissism. How just Peter, or especially when he gets overtaken by the symbiote, Peter just... well, he just lets all the fame get to him, just like, all that shit and all that good stuff. And when the symbiote just comes in and takes him over, ooh, man, it just, all his actions, his karma just affects the people he loves. And yeah, this is just how I see it right now about the narcissism thing, is that, yeah, it kind of tackles on narcissism, how if you really just, like only care, basically toxic narcissism, how it's like, if you really toxically just, I don't even think that's a real word, but what I'll use it, like only care about yourself, you look yourself as somebody who's untouchable and all that stuff, and everything, whatever, mistreat people, then it's gonna come back to you, and it does. So yeah, that's how I see it. I know it's sloppy for me to to tackle the whole narcissism thing, but still, I do like there's some toxic message on, a message about narcissism. That's how I see it. Harry as the new Goblin, in my opinion, was a wasted opportunity. He was cool in the final act, but damn, was he wasted. He all built him up for the last one, and then this is what you give us? Fuck. Venom, all I gotta say is that, I mean, honestly, Topher Grace wasn't all that bad as Eddie Brock. It's just that when he becomes Venom, oh my goodness. But I do like how Venom looks cool, especially with the mix of practical and CGI, and especially when he's fighting Spider-Man. Holy shit, he beats the shit out of him. And Venom is pretty cool in some areas and all that stuff, but overall it's still, y'all couldn't add like a monster alien voice to him. But hey, I gotta also say, in my opinion, it's pretty close to the comics, the origin of the development of Venom. But then again, he shouldn't have been in the movie. Obviously, Sam Raimi did not want him to be in the film, So, and it feels like that. But yeah, this movie is pretty much a mess, but overall, I still have a soft spot for it, for real, guys. I never hated this film. Well, at one point, I think I had this film brawl moment where I ended up hating it because, you know, everybody else was hating it. But then again, deep down, I'm like, nah, you like this movie. You liked it. I never had a huge problem with Spider-Man 3. And yeah, it's aside from it being a mess, I still think it's a very solid film, for real. I still really enjoy it, and yeah, not because of nostalgia, but because I actually see a lot of great things. It's like the good outweighs the bad. And yeah, all right, now we're done with the trilogy. Now let's get on to the Andrew Garfield duology, directed by Mark Webb. So we'll start with The Amazing Spider-Man, directed by Mark Webb, and it stars Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, just to name a few. So basically, it is the untold story of Spider-Man, but it is the same origin story of Spider-Man. It's just that instead of dealing with the Green Goblin, and they're including his parents here, Richard and Mary Parker, he's just fighting the Lizard. So yeah, so basically Peter gets bitten by a radioactive spider. He builds his web this time, unlike the organic webbing from Tobey Maguire. And well, Dr. Kirk Connors is trying to, well, experiment a lot of things and trying to grow his arm back. And well, of course, the insanity gets him. It's very similar to Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 1, except it's with Lizard and Green Goblin, so yeah. Now let's get on to the review. Honestly, despite Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker looking, in my opinion, doesn't really act like Peter Parker, honestly, he was still a great Spider-Man. He was very quippy. He's way more quippier than Tobey Maguire's, but then again, sometimes there are moments where I'm like, you kind of come off as Deadpool more than Spider-Man. But overall, I enjoyed his Spider-Man. At first, I hated Spider-Man because I couldn't accept the fact that we're getting another Spider-Man. But then when I saw the movie, I really dug it. Well, the suit still looks like a basketball to me. Chris Tuckman said it, and I agree with him that it looks like a basketball. I'm still not a huge fan of that design, and I'm glad that the sequel fixed that all up. But yeah, that was really cool. There's a lot of nitpick here, a lot of stuff like that, and maybe you could have trimmed some stuff out, or maybe like it could be expanded with the director's cut, because I felt like a lot of stuff was cut. Especially it hurt the Lizard's arc, where I saw a deleted scene. I think there is a deleted scene in the bonus features that he has to talk with his son, and yeah, you don't really get that whole sympathetic thing with the Lizard, in my opinion. But then again, he's still pretty cool. When he's a lizard, he's badass, but he's kind of like a little one-dimensional for me. But so yeah, maybe an extended director's cut could help out. Mark Webb, revisit this film, especially the second one. But yeah, this is alright. It's pretty good. Greg or James Horner composed the score, and I really dug it. It's really cool. Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, it's just great, especially since they were dating in real life. Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield's chemistry on screen, it is pretty cute. I love it a lot. Uncle Ben and Aunt May are great as always. The action scene is just phenomenal, especially in the third act, especially when Peter fights the Lizard. It is so cool. I quite like it. There are some music video-y moments or stuff like that get in the way, well, especially with the pacing of the film, but overall, I think it's fine. Mark Webb was directing a lot of music videos. He directed a lot of music videos, so yeah. The Lizard, again, I already said he's one-dimensional in many ways for me, or just one-dimensional overall, but he was still cool. I love his design, and I can't wait to see him back in the upcoming Spider-Man film. But yeah, overall, despite some of my problems with the film, I still really thought it's a solid movie when I gave it a chance. And because I was saying these movies, the Andrew Garfield, without seeing them, I said they sucked, but then I finally saw them. Yeah, the first one is, in my opinion, really good. All right, let's get on to The Amazing Spider-Man 2, once again, directed by Mark Webb. And well, we have a couple of villains. We got Dane DeHaan as the Green Goblin. We have Paul Giamatti as the Rhino, and the standout villain Jamie Foxx as Electro. The story is, well, Peter Parker, after the death of Captain Stacy, he promises not to get Gwen involved, or basically he breaks up with Gwen. Then they get back together later. But at the same time, we have all these villains coming in, just like Spider-Man 3, and well, you know, it's kind of a mess, but yeah. So then it's once again for Spider-Man to stop them once and for all. All right, let's get on to the review. And so once again, Andrew Garfield is pretty solid. Again, his Spider-Man sometimes comes off as Deadpool-ish, but overall, he's still a damn solid Spider-Man. Especially, I still get emotional when I see him walk the kid home from school. It is so cool. That is Spider-Man for me. Emma Stone is great as Gwen Stacy. Their chemistry is so well. And I like how he's discovering the origins of the disappearance of his father, Richard Parker. And the score by Hans Zimmer, amazing. and I think it's also called the Magnificent Seven, but still, I really dug this one a bit more than Greg Corner or James Corner, well, the first Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man score, and man, this is so awesome. Jamie Foxx, even though he's kind of like, he has that Jim Carrey Riddler vibe to it in the beginning, I honestly kind of sympathize with him, but again, he has a sympathetic origin, but he becomes kind of a generic villain, and yeah, that's fine. Paul Giamatti, it sucks how they wasted Paul Giamatti's movie, because man, I actually thought he was awesome as Rhino, especially near the end. And that Rhino suit, man, ooh, man, dude. I could have gotten that Hot Toys Rhino figure, but that bitch is so big. I'll wait for a smaller one, and maybe he can be a bit more articulate, maybe take out Alexi, but whatever, I love the Rhino here. He was so cool, and it sucks that he's wasted. Now let's get on to what am I having issues with is the pacing. Again, it struggles with pacing, and it could probably help with cutting some of the fat out, or maybe have an extended director's cut. And oof, man, this movie is kind of a hot mess, and I think it's inexcusable this time, unlike Spider-Man 3, because came out in 2014. And Spider-Man 3 came out in 2007. We should have known better, because they were more concerned on building a franchise with the Sinister Six rather than give us a standalone film. Dane DeHaan, I actually enjoyed Dane DeHaan. I actually kind of like the relationship with Harry and Peter here. But the problem is that his Green Goblin was just fucking cringe. The reason why for me the Green Goblin is there just to kill Gwen Stacy off. And yeah, Gwen Stacy dies, which is Andrew Garfield, amazing performance. And it's very sad. And well, yeah, this movie's kind of a hot mess. I mean, everybody's beat the shit out of this film, but you know, overall, in my opinion, I still quite enjoy it. I still have fun watching The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So overall, I don't hate it, but I understand why people hate it. All right, now let's get on to the Tom Holland Now trilogy. Well, I haven't seen the new one yet, but we'll see. Starting with, I almost said the SpiderMan Homecoming, directed by John Watts, and it stars Tom Holland, Zendaya, and Michael Keaton for the first one, just to name a few. So the story is well, Spider-Man is living his life, working with the Stark for the Stark internship with Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., just giving him this spider suit from Civil War. Because yeah, it basically recaps Civil War, and right now you see the growth and development of Peter Parker, and it is really nice. And they skip the whole origin part, which is cool. And yeah, his friend Ned finds out that he's Spider-Man. And around the same time, we have Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, who is basically a father trying to, feed his family, and Stark Industry fires him, or just basically he gets screwed over. And he just, instead of giving back the alien technology, he just steals it, and he keeps stealing a lot of the alien technology so he can sell it to the black market style. So then once, Spider-Man Peter investigates all that, it's up for him to stop Vulture. All right, now let's get on to the review. Tom Holland, in my opinion, I have some flaws with this Peter Parker, and I'm just gonna get out of the way. I feel that a lot of the stuff, here I think they did it really good, but with I felt that he gets a lot of hand-me-downs, and they're trying to groom him to be the next Iron Man, which I don't think he should be. He should be Spider-Man. But aside from that, Tom Holland nails Spider-Man. He gets the built-in web shooting. He's got the personality. He's very geeky. Not overly attractive and sexy looking like Andrew Garfield's, but not overly geeky as Tobey Maguire's, but he's right there at the fine line. So I think he's a perfect Spider-Man. So Peter is amazing in here, and he's just discovering his powers and all that stuff, his new abilities with the suit and all that stuff. It is very awesome. I just love Tom Holland's acting here. Zendaya as MJ, she's MJ, her name is MJ here, and she was funny as hell. She was actually aside from Ned and Vulture, she was my favorite character. She is so funny. I like the love interest too, and I like that, she basically Vulture's her dad, and I really like that a lot. And I'll get to Vulture in just a few moments. The score by Michael Giacchino, perfection. That's all I gotta say. The action is great throughout, in my opinion. Spider-Man is quick, but then again, he stops quipping when things go down, and I like that a lot. So that is great, man. And especially the scene at the end where he saves Vulture's life, it is so cool. And the Washington Monument scene. I seen this movie in IMAX, and I have a phobia of heights. That's why I don't do roller coasters and all that stuff. But man, I have a phobia of heights. And that screen, as far as I remember, filled up, and I was looking like, no. Peter was like, me and Peter were at the same time like, oh, fuck, no, because it was an IMAX shot, I believe. It was an IMAX scene. Yeah, holy crap. My phobia kicked in there. But man, I love that Washington Monument scene. It was so cool. The Washington DC scene. Pacing is pretty solid too. I like that. And also Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. Oh, fuck. No. But yeah, now to get on to one of my favorite things about the movie is Vulture, played by Michael Keaton. I like that we have an MCU villain that we sympathize with, man. A struggling dad, he gets screwed over, and well, he's just trying to make a living for his family, and I sympathize with that. But then again, you are selling a lot of alien technology here, so yeah. But no, overall, man, especially when he's not in the suit, when he's in the suit, he's very threatening. But even without it, especially when you had that conversation in a car with a gun pointing at Peter, that's fucking scary. But yeah, overall, Michael Keaton's very solid. And I like that Scorpion's in the movie and the Shockers in this movie. They're really good. I mean, Scorpion's not in the movie a lot. We all know that Scorpion, not because of the tattoo, yeah, because of that tattoo. And it's just, yeah, that's Scorpion. But yeah, he does a great job. But Shocker doesn't get a lot of screen time, but he's very good too. I like that. So overall, an amazing start to the Tom Holland franchise. Now let's move on to Spider-Man Far From Home, once again directed by John Watts, and we have Jake Gyllenhaal playing Mysterio. So the story is Peter, after the death, of course, of Iron Man, and well, again, trying to groom him as the next Tony Stark. He still just wants to just get away from the superhero stuff for now and just go on vacation with his friends and all that stuff, and in a class trip to Europe. But we have Nick Fury, played by Samuel Jackson, just going like, hey, we have this thing going on that we discovered, and Mysterio is involved. He's helping him, but then again, I already knew from the start, like, dude, he's gonna fuck him over. So excuse me. So yeah, so basically these elemental beings and multi-dimensional beings are attacking the world, and it's up for Spider-Man and Mysterio to team up and S.H.I.E.L.D. to team up and try to stop the whole thing. But we all know Mysterio is a bad guy, so he of course screws over Peter with Tony's glasses, and well, now it's up for Peter to stop Mysterio once and for all. Now let's get on to the review. Oh, it's getting redundant saying that. Tom Holland, awesome. I love that a lot. But the highlight for me is MJ and Peter's relationship here. I just like that they're awkwardly adorable and all that stuff, but I just like how their relationship's starting to be developed a bit more, and I like that a lot. The action scenes here are an improvement. I mean, I love the action in the first one, but here they show you a lot of stuff on frame, and I love that, especially in the third act. I mean, the climax, when the final battle between Mysterio and Spider-Man. Holy shit, it is exhilarating, man. Especially when Spider-Man runs out of web shooting. When he runs out of webbing. Holy shit. That's very intense. And I like that a lot. I also love Happy here in this movie, man. He was great in the first one, and here he's just great. He's just as good too, because he just wants to get some ass from Aunt May, and no, he loves her. He really loves her, and you know, please make that a thing in the third movie. Have them be together. That's all I want. But yeah, the action scene is great. Michael Giacchino's score, in my opinion, is a slight improvement. Because then again, I love the score from them, especially Vulture's theme, but here I love Mysterio's theme. It is so badass. I feel like Michael had more room to breathe here, so he can just be way more himself. But overall, man, this is so awesome. Pacing is pretty solid too. Everybody does a great job. Samuel Jackson, and we have everybody here just doing a good job. Ned is great. Everybody's doing a great job. All the side characters, great job. And to close this review out, I've gotta say, as much as I love Mysterio here, he is not, in my opinion, as strong or as sympathetic as Vulture. Because with Mysterio, the reason why he's a villain is because Tony laughed at his invention and now he just lost his mind. I don't know. Ooh, but he's kind of a stereotypical MCU villain. But in my opinion, what makes it up is Jake Gyllenhaal's psycho performance as Mysterio. Oh, Man, or at one point, I believe he was supposed to play Spider-Man in the Raimi trilogy. I think it was either Spider-Man 1 or 2. And here, oh man, he would have been a great Peter Parker, of course, but still, oh my goodness, him as Mysterio. Yeah, when he's like doing the whole illusions and all that stuff, fuck, is that guy crazy? Is that guy nuts? Is he scary? Especially when you see him getting into Peter's head on like, oh, it's because of you, it's your fault that Tony Stark is dead. And he shows like a corpse of Tony Stark. Like, he has the Iron Man suit and half of his face is just like a skeleton, but you see that and oh, that is fucking scary. No, I can see why kids will get scared from that shit. But yeah, Mysterio is great. And one last flaw one last nitpick that I have with, again, going back to Peter, basically, I like how he's building his own suit. I like his very own suit, red and black suit, which is phenomenal. And but I still feel that he's getting a lot of these hand-me-down technology, because we all know we relate to Peter because he's a kid from Queens who is poor, and a lot of us young people, or a lot of people who basically are not rich, identify with him. And it looks like Peter kind of looks like a rich. This is just me being nitpicky, so it doesn't really hurt much. But him easily accessing all this stuff to be the next Spider-Man, which I get it. I just feel that, I don't know, man. I kind of like, I'm more of a guy that wants Spider-Man to earn his stuff. Well, he does earn it. It's just that here, I think he's easily getting a lot of hand-me-downs. But then again, that's just me. I know I'm going to piss people off with that, but that's just me. But overall, I still love Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So that's my review for Far From Home. Now let's get on to me rating them, even though ratings don't mean anything, but whatever. So if I were to rate, I'll just have a little like list around here. So if I were to rate the Raimi trilogy for right now, Spider-Man 1 gets a 5 out of 5. Spider-Man 2 gets a 5 out of 5. Spider-Man 3 gets a 3 out of 5. The Mark Webb duology, 4 out of 5 for the first The Amazing Spider-Man, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 gets a 3 out of 5. So I still quite like Spider-Man 2. For the new Tom Holland films, directed by John Watts, SpiderMan Homecoming for me gets a 5 out of 5, despite of course, my Tom Holland Spider-Man's issues with the whole hand-me-down things. And Homecoming, despite my issue a little bit with Mysterio, he makes it up for his awesome performance. It gets a 5 out of 5. So yeah, I love the Spider-Man films. I love the Spider-Verse films. So it is awesome, you guys. So that's my entire bloated video of me reviewing the entire Spider-Man live action film. So if you guys enjoyed the video, well, for now, like the entire film franchise. And thank you guys so much for watching my video. So let me know down in the comments section below, have you guys seen the entire live action Spider-Man franchise? Well, for now, entire Spider-Man franchise. Please let me know down in the comments section down below. I'll tell you your opinions on it. So this is Happy from Harvey Productions signing out. I hope you guys enjoyed the show.